Good morning. Two hands today. We're focused on the cutoff because when I call pre-flop raises from the cutoff, I generally lose. I'm improving, but I'm reviewing these hands to try to get a better understanding of what I might be doing. So hand number one is 8-7. I'm in the cutoff. We get one limp, and then we have a raise to 4.5 big blinds. This raise is coming from a player that is 12-2. He's going to be very tight. Basically, his called two bets from blinds is tens plus queen jack. He does have king nine, and over this small sample, 100 some hands, it's possible that he wasn't really getting very good hands. But I think from his raise stats, he doesn't usually raise. So I think you're probably looking at something maybe like that for his pre-flop raise. What about me? I'm going to be behind with this hand. This hand is speculative. I'm hoping if I play this hand that I'm going to be able to take a stack. Is it possible? Maybe. I think we have to consider how likely is it that he will hit the flop. So just when we look at a random board, he's going to flop top pair and an overpair 40% of the time, and a pocket pair below top pair 10% of the time. So I think 50% of the time he's going to be hitting this board, and that's kind of what it says, 52.2%, based on all the check marks that we have. Do we have 50% equity against this? I don't think so. I'm getting pot odds are giving me 39%. If we do 8-7, we're only at 32%. I think this is a fold. Could we raise it? I mean, of course we could, but since he's raising such a tight range, I think if I raise, all that I'm doing is building a pot against a much stronger range. If any Broadway card hits, I really can't feel confident with my hand, and I do think he's going to be hitting over 50% of the time, so this should just be a fold. Also, you could say, well, you can call and speculatively hope, take that speculative approach, hope that he hits, and we hit, but we hit stronger. But then we have to contend with players behind us that they could possibly call. So I'm going to guess this guy's going to call. He's playing 39-4. We're going to go three-way probably if I just call. What about these other players? None of them really have high stats. This guy is called 9%. I mean, if they call, they're going to be probably pocket pairs, maybe a suited ace. I just don't like the situation. I think this is a fold. I called, and basically everyone comes behind us. So I'm going to say they could really have a lot. Definitely the under the gun player could have a very wide range. Everyone else, we're going to say just something, a pocket pair, maybe like a suited ace like that. Maybe some suited connectors, but probably not. I think this is, pocket pair, suited ace. Look for the nut flush, look for the pocket pair. Probably is what these guys are doing. This guy is going to be a much wider, and if he comes along, we'll have to create it. So we see a board. Again, we can't flopped the open-ended straight draw, but there's a diamond flush out there. So instead of having 8 outs, we have 6 clean outs, basically. And, the other thing to consider is that even if we catch a 10, King Jack now hits their straight. So we can discount some of their outs. Definitely this board's going to hit pre-flop razor good percentage of the time. And you can see just if we do pocket pair below top pair plus flush draw plus 69%. So what happens? He bets 10, he bets half pot. I should say that the pre-flop raise wasn't too surprising, 4.5. there was a limper in there, so I think that was just kind of a standard raise. Now he bets half pot. His c-bet stats, you can see, since he doesn't really play a whole lot, doesn't come in for a raise. Uh, he does, he doesn't have that many opportunities, but of the 2 opportunities that he has had, he's c-bet 100% of the time. And my guess is because he is very likely to have hit this, to have a pair or top pair on this board, possibly even the diamond draw with 2 overcards, so like ace, king, and diamonds. I have an open-ended straight draw. I do have 36% equity. Pot's giving me 24%. This seems like it could be a call. Seems like it could be a call to draw. Could we raise? I think raising it probably isn't going to accomplish much other than building a big pot, because I think if I raise, he's probably going to call everything, including the flush draw. Because his flush draw would be ace, king, and diamond. So I think the raise is just going to build a huge pot. I think it'd be better to call here, and if I spike a 5, then I think this player's still not going to fold. Maybe he might fold the jacks, but I think he's coming along. So I raised. I think that's a mistake. Folds everyone out and he calls. So if he bet that, I think he's probably going to raise. As a tight player, probably jacks. I'll give him jacks. He'll fold jacks. So we'll do that. Yeah, 57%. We're at 32% equity once he called. Pot's 84. We've got 59. The 10 hits. That is just like jackpot for us, which is great. So now you're looking at the straight, and I think we caught one of the few cards. He bet 1.5, and that's an odd bet, because it's like, does he really have king jack? And it's hoping to call, but it's such a weak bet. I actually think this is like ace king and diamonds. That's afraid to bet, or possibly maybe he had pocket tens and spiked, just now spiked, trips, because he called like tens and jacks. He bet half pot, and then he bet really small. Ace, king, and diamonds. He wants to see the river, and he wants to see it cheaply. He doesn't want to call all in. I'm glad I did that. I called all in. The only hand that's going to beat me is king jack, and if he has a king jack, good for him. His stats don't suggest that he would have raised king jack from mid position. They really don't. So we get it in, and then the jack of diamonds hits, and I didn't want to see jack of diamonds. So at this point, I'm going to assume we're going to go back. Once I bet, I think it goes down to this flush draw, basically 100% flush draw, and then the jack of diamonds hits, and now I'm losing. We're already all in, and he shows king. So I guess I kind of thought flush draw, ace, king, and diamonds. He had the kings. I guess that's a little bit strange that he would bet that small with just the overpair. I guess he was concerned maybe that I had trips. So if he calls with the overpair, he'll probably call with the set, but yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense. A tight passive player is afraid once a possible straight card gets out there. And with the overcard, he's afraid maybe I have trips. So maybe we'll do that. We're at 96%. He just caught the miracle card. So I should never have been in this situation. I think I should have folded against this player, this tight passive player. Should have just folded pre-flop. I don't mind. I think probably the turn I could have just, or the flop I could have just called. I think he would have fired again, and I think we still would have gotten it all in. I think we still would have 100% gotten all in. So this is how I think would have gone. He bets 10, I call. So then we have 42 in the pot. Okay, 42 in the pot. He would have 72.5 left. I would have 80 left. So effective stack is 72.5 with 40 big blinds in the pot. And then 10 hits, and I think he would probably bet 40, probably bet half pot. And then I would raise, and he would call because he's got his overpair. And then the Jack of Diamonds hits, and I lose the hand. So I think that's how I should have played it on the flop versus this tight passive player. I think, yeah, there's no guarantee that he was going to call this. So when he bet 1.5, he likes his hand, but now he's afraid that he's beat. He's seeing monsters under the bed, and he should have, because I was beating him. But pre-flop should have just folded against this player type, not against all players, but against this player type. I should have folded, and then I think we just got unlucky with the river card. All right, let me pause things out and clear them out and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is pocket eights. We are short-handed, so 6 players. This is a 2NL game, so crazy things can happen. Mid position player posts, and then under the gun raises to 7 big blinds. This is a tight, aggressive player. He may have been studying and reading about pain thresholds. I think with this amount, he is doing this more for value. I don't think he's going to have much bluffs in his range. It could be just something like this, something pretty tight, and even including these Jack 10, Queen Jack suited hands is questionable, and possibly even Ace Jack. But we'll go with 7 big blinds, and then it's to us with eights. I think eights is a playable hand. I don't think we should fold, so I guess our decision is to call or raise, and we have to have a plan with it. So eights, you can see, is at the bottom of his pocket pair ranges. We are going to be behind, but I think we have some possibility of spiking a hand, spiking a set, and taking a stack. If I call, we're going to probably get called by at least one other person. This guy's 10 hands, but he's 70-0. He's called 2-bet 60% of the time, so I kind of think if I call, he's going to come along. We're just sweetening the pot for the chance to spike a set and then hopefully get paid off. Are any of these other 2 players? I mean, these 3 players are all loose. This guy, out of 9 hands and out of 10 hands, they're playing 30%. So it's possible that they come along. Oh, he's out. Sorry, he's out. Small blind's gonna call. This guy, maybe. But if I call and he calls, it's gonna encourage the big blind to call too. And at 2NL, they could look at this and say, well, I only have to call 6, and there is currently like 22, 23 big blinds in the pot. Yeah, I'll call. I'll see what's there. So kind of think calling's okay. I don't think raising's going to do a whole lot. Raising will probably fold out everyone behind us and get heads up, but I'm going to get heads up against a player with a tight range. He does have his fold to 3-bet stat is 1 out of 1. I don't know when that happened. His 4-bet range is aces, ace king suited, ace queen offsuit. His 3-bet range is ace king. He limps and calls raise. He has king queen suited in there, so maybe it's his pre-flop raising range is something even tighter. In which case, I doubt I'm gonna get a fold. I think if I shove all in, I think I'm gonna get a fold by all hands except aces and kings. But I don't think I want to do that. So I think a call is gonna be okay. He calls. Not surprised by him. And this was kind of the guy. Maybe he would call, maybe he doesn't. So we're three way. He can have basically any 2 cards. So if we look at this, he could, in theory, say any two cards. If we just go up to 60%, he is not raised at all. Just standard 60%. We're looking at something like that. Let's get rid of some of those. That's probably his range. Anything looks good. So we see a flop. It's 10-6-2. 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, 2 of clubs. It's definitely doesn't. It's gonna hit the calling ranges better than pre-flop range, but and I think maybe he has pocket tens, but he has overpairs. He has overpairs, whereas I think we can have pocket tens, pocket sixes, pocket deuces. So right now, I think range advantage wise, I think it's probably somewhat neutral when you consider that we have draws, we've got pairs, but all of that kind of gets offset by the fact that he probably has pocket pairs, these over pairs that are in his hand. Range advantage is probably us, because we could have 10 sixes and twos, trip twos. And I think we could possibly have 7 8 8 9 for a straight. So let's see what he does. He checks. They both check. It gets to us. So what is he gonna check? I'm gonna guess that he's probably gonna check a set. Maybe he checks an overpair. His c-bet stats are really high. C-bet out of position 100%. So if he checks, it's gonna be check raising with the set. I kind of think he's gonna be betting any of his pair and pocket pairs. Maybe not nines, because he's tight aggressive. He probably has, the ace king hands, no made hands, all that. So we could say 63%, and then I'm at 61%. So with them checking, I don't think I really want to check. Our hand's vulnerable to overcards, so I think we can bet. Could he fold ace king? He might. He might call one time and then fold to the turn bet. So I think if we bet, we could probably look to fire a second barrel on a suitable turn card. So any like non-Broadway, I think we could fire second barrel. This guy, yeah, he could have hit a piece of it. I think it's pretty standard for him to check basically his entire range. But it's also likely that he could have missed. So I fired 17.5, somewhat large. I think even today, I think I'm okay with that. I don't mind if I generate more folds. I really do want to try to get those overcards to fold. Or if they call, they're going to do so and put in more money that I can then win with the turn bet. That's 3/4. Maybe I bet pot. Maybe that's the better size. So villain 18 folds. He didn't hit. And then villain 20 calls. And I think now that makes it a little bit concerning for me. So if he calls, do I think he's calling with the ace king? Maybe. I think if he calls with his entire checking range, I'm at 61%. And this is 2NL, so I guess it is possible that he would call with those, maybe these 2-card backdoor flush draws. I don't know. I don't think they pay attention to that. So I would just probably say all over cards, maybe. So, and he does have the sets. So River's a 2. That is actually a good card. So if he called with the overcards, I can't imagine that he would call again. Definitely call another big bet. Now the pot's 58.5. I think our bet's gonna probably have to be pot to get maximum fold equity here. And it's because it's when we look at hands that he can have against, we're 72%. I don't want to bet small and then have him catch the ace or the king that could possibly beat me. So our hand is still vulnerable, but I don't think that 2 helps him unless he has trips. So now he bets, And I think at that point, I think alarm bells go off because I had the lead. Why would he bet now? So now I'm thinking, okay, did I remove the overpairs incorrectly? And now that he's kind of scared, uh, or maybe he has the set and he's afraid I'm gonna check, and then that's it. Um, I mean, the board's dry. The board is dry, so the question then becomes, what should I do? I don't think he's gonna do that with nines. I honestly don't. Uh, so I kind of think he's at a full house. He's hoping just to get paid. He's afraid that I was gonna check behind. So now he's gonna bet and hope I call him and can pay him off. And um, I did. I just shoved. So I shoved and he calls. So I'm gonna pocket tens maybe. Uh, let's see what he has. And he shows ace queen, and that's interesting. I didn't have that. So I'm gonna make a note here. We had all of that, and then called with overs. Let's see. No, he check called, flop with overs, then led. He led big. Pot was 58. He bet 43.5. Or 3.5 over 58.5. So and then led 75% pot on on let's say blank turn, and called all in with overcards. So seems strange. I mean, we mark it. We didn't get that hand, and I think we had it. I kind of assumed he had the overcards. I think it was that turn play that just kind of, you look at it and you say, okay, well, he's betting maybe because he doesn't believe us. And then maybe, and again, the full house just seems strange. I mean, really, would he have bet out? I said, he's afraid maybe that we're gonna check, but again, I mean, he's got basically the effective nuts there. I don't think nines. I really didn't think ace queen, but I guess yeah, he did it strange. He didn't think I had a 10, so he's gonna bet ace queen and try to take it away from me. I think it would have been much more effective if he just shoves. Um, Makes it, yeah, maybe like he has ace suit, but based on his stats, I don't have that in his range, and I'm gonna stand by that. I don't. I think he's so tight aggressive that I'm questioning whether he even has these small pocket pairs in his range. So uh, when you factor that in, then he's going to shove. We're at 86%. So I think when we raise, he's going to call with all of those. Even if we include full house and pocket pair, let's just do the full house and say he's polarized. We're still at 80%. So we were getting it in well, and then the ace of spades hits, and that's just devastating to us. So if he checks, and I chose to bet small, because I think if he called, and then on this pot I could probably bet 30 big blinds, half pot. That should get the job done. Should fold out all the overpairs, and if I do bet that and he calls, then I think on the river I'm just gonna check. So I didn't get this hand, but I learned a little something. He did surprise us with his lead with ace queen. Seems a little unusual for him to do that. Obviously, if we think he can do that with the overs, then we we should take it. I just think with the c bet, I think he would have c bet with all of his pairs. So I guess that's the only thing he could have had. Weird hand. All right, hopefully you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for a couple more hands.